I can already see their faces, the wide eyes, half open mouth, caught somewhere between disbelief and wonder. They always ask the same questions. How far was it? Did you walk it alone? What was it like? Why? That one always lingers. Why? Why walk thousands of miles again? Why choose dust and pain over comfort and ease? That one never leaves. It clings. It follows. It eats at the quiet moments. Even now, after all these miles, it's still there. Why? The howling of wolves broke the stillness, echoing through the valley like a warning. Everything felt alive, but quiet, as if the trail was holding its breath. Here I was, at the start of the Continental Divide Trail. A line drawn 3,000 miles through the backbone of the continent, from the snowbound Rockies to the red deserts of New Mexico. It had been a year since hiking the PCT, but this beginning felt quieter, less like a celebration, and more like a return. The first steps didn't feel new, they felt remembered, like coming back to a place I never really left. But the CDT doesn't care about your past triumph.
A late spring storm walloped parts of Montana.
Right now it's snowing up here.
Several storms dropped feet of snow.
There are additional mountain hazards. Be extra safe and extra prepared if you go beyond.
Even as summer officially began, the Rocky Mountains clung to winter. The park warned hikers to prepare for harsh conditions. A storm was coming. The morning I left, the mountains were already white. Snow dusted the trees. Clouds hung low, drifting like ghosts. The trail felt heavy, alive. I felt it in my chest. Every step forward pulled me deeper into the unknown. The unknown. Isn't that why we come? For the blank page, for the chance to write it ourselves, one step at a time. All the animals retreated low into the woods, far from the storm. The snow picked up. It covered the trail and erased every footprint. Above the trees, the pass disappeared beneath a shifting veil. I moved slow, post-holding through drifts, my phone map shaking into my cold and wet hands. I had one thing and one thing only in mind: getting out of the storm safely. storm had passed and the snow was gone. I pushed deeper into the Bob Marshall wilderness, the heart of Grizzly country. Alone, I walked through the stillness of the forest, but I knew I wasn't truly alone. The bears were near, always just out of sight. When night fell, I retreated into my tent. Back in Glacier, a ranger had warned us, we don't come out of dark, bears own the park at night. Here in the Bob, far from the rules of national parks, my through hike had truly begun, but not as I expected. The days were long and lonely, the weather unrelenting. And more than once, I found myself longing for the comfort of town. Through hikes can be lonely. Paces differ, plans shift, goals pull us apart. And sometimes for days, it's just you. No voices. Only footsteps and thoughts, stretching endlessly like the trail itself. In that silence, I often found myself looking back to the moments I wasn't alone, to the times this journey was shared. After walking through the Bob, I found myself in a small Montana town, just as the annual rodeo parade was rolling down the main street. Horses cropping past faded storefronts, kids waving flags from the curb. And somewhere in the middle of it all, I met them, Tom, Grazer, and Lennon. We were strangers, technically, but something clicked, like we had already shared miles long before we met. And then there was the cowboy spirit, not just in the rodeo, but in the rhythm of the town itself, the kind of quiet strength built on respect, hard work, and a deep love for the land. At that moment, I felt part of something older, something rooted, something timeless. All the way to my soul. It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see. Thoreau. I read that quote on a diner wall, and it stayed with me. The start of the city wasn't what I imagined. No grand vistas, no magic, just cold miles and a quiet struggle. I'd been forcing the trail to mean something, chasing the wonder I once felt, trying too hard to shape the story. But you cannot control every moment, and if you try, you'll miss the beauty in the chaos. I had to reset my expectation, let the trail speak for itself. Easier said than done. The next morning, Lennon, Grazer, Tom and I stepped back onto the trail.
That's because you're going away. This morning is a star.
Our friendship formed as naturally as breath, effortless but essential. One day we met, and the next we chose to walk on together.
Early morning.
We hiked as one across Montana's wilderness, through towering forests, barren hills, and white flowers that lit the way in bursts of color.
Don't know what to think, but I guess I'll have a lot to drink, 'cause you're leaving me.
We were supplied in small towns, getting more lost in grocery store than we ever did on trail. We crammed into motel rooms,
But I'm a man who is believing.
and we traded stories over greasy fast food.
It's a fact in our lives.
The miles were still hard, the trail still tested us, but something had shifted. The roadwalks became bearable with shared jokes. The heat waves softer with shared silence.
Life without you's cool.
Even the cold nights felt less alone.
To make you stay. A ray of sunshine sometimes
These were the people who gave the trail color again.
shines on those
These were the people who made the journey more than just miles beneath my feet. It reminded me that sometimes the beauty isn't just in the landscapes, it's in the company you keep moving through them.
on the platform waving goodbye.
We laughed until the trees echoed it back. And when the night settled in and the fire began to crackle, the questions rose like smoke. So guys, I asked, why do you hike? For a few seconds, they all stayed quiet. I watched the flames dance in the reflection of Lennon's glasses. Then finally, Tom broke the silence.
I think simply, this is my happy place. After discovering that, it just makes sense for me to come back out here and spend more time in my happy place.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a little mini goal every single day, you know? And there's little rewards trickled throughout that as well. And also the stuff you're not planning for and don't expect.
I think when I finish the PCT and everyone has that thought of like, what do I do next? How do I fit back into society? I'm gonna have to worry about rent and jobs and everything. I didn't realize at the time that I was more worried about not being on the PCT rather than what's coming next.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know it at the time
Mm-hmm.
until like maybe a few months later. I'm like, actually, everything I ever needed was on that trail and not in like the world that we live in, I guess.
Tom's words stayed with me. That happy place he spoke of, the PCT, I knew it too. I'd walked it the year before. I wandered through some of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. Met people with whom I shared something hard to describe, something you only understand if you've lived it too. It was my first through hike, and it changed me. For the first time in a long time, I felt light, I felt free, I was happy. And now, walking the city, I couldn't help but look back. It's hard to explain. A month had passed since I started the CDT, a long, exhausting month. But still, I felt disconnected. The trail didn't offer the escape I hoped for. I blamed it for being different, for not giving me the feeling I was chasing. and I felt ungrateful. I had the privilege to walk through all this wonder, and yet I failed to see it. I had forgotten how. Each day, I moved like a ghost through the trees, eyes down, trying to drown out the emptiness in my mind with the sound of my own footsteps. Each day, trying to outwalk something I couldn't name. The trail was hard, the climbs steep, the heat oppressive, and the bugs incessant. Mosquitoes clinging to the tent mesh like sentinels, waiting for me to rise. Their pitch high, frantic, and unrelenting, enough to drive you to the edge of madness. And in the quiet, the same question kept coming back. Why was I here? I remember that morning like yesterday. The land opened wide before me. Quiet hills draped in gold, sagebrush swaying in a dry wind. And then movement. I stopped. It ran fast, grey and white fur weaving through the sage like a ghost. A wolf. It crossed the trail, powerful and silent, and just before it disappeared over the rise, it glanced my way. Wild eyes meeting mine for a heartbeat, and then it was gone. No time to reach for the camera, no time to speak, just enough to remember. It hit me then. What I thought was missing had never left. The magic was here all along. I just hadn't been paying attention. Some beauty is wild by design, appearing only when we're still enough to see it. And maybe that was the lesson.
So my question is, what do you still have from East Lake, or that's Don't bite the rock. Oh!
Together with my trail family, we pushed deeper through the end of Montana. The climbs were long, the descents unforgiving. Yet, they felt lighter now. After the wolf, something shifted. A weight lifted from my shoulder, even though my pack still pressed heavy against my back. It wasn't about letting go, I realized. It was about letting be, allowing things to exist as they are, uncomfortable, imperfect, and wild, and finding peace in the truth. And in that moment, the trail seemed to find me in return. My body felt strong again, and each day revealed something unexpected, pulling me forward with a quiet sense of wonder. Up on the ridge lines, the view was breathtaking. Expansive valleys stretched out like vast rolling seas of yellowish green and brown, while above, the sky spread wide, unbroken, and infinite.
Back in college, I was in the Army, and I drove truck for
the Army, and so that's kind of been my fallback job. And so I worked for about 12 years and got sick of it and went back and drove truck for 3 or 4 years, and then
There, moving together step by step, I felt it at last. I was no longer fighting the trail, I was walking with it. In the early days of Wyoming, paces shifted within my trail family. Our plans pulled apart, and little by little, we lost track of each other. I felt the pull of solitude, and I knew I was ready to continue on my own. On some days, without knowing it, they had been my pillars, the quiet forces that kept me moving through pain and doubt. I dare not imagine what my path would have been without them. But it was time to say goodbye, for now. People often asked, "Do you hike alone?" And I'd say yes, mostly. But the truth is, I met people who gave me faith in humanity again, with their simple, honest kindness, with the way they made the journey feel less lonely. They were what made it special, the kind of souls who pass through your life only once, yet stay with you forever. After leaving Dubois alone, I stepped into the Wind River Range. Storms greeted me along the Green Belly River. Thunder rolled through the valley. Rain lashed against the granite wall. Then, just as quickly, the skies opened and the mountains revealed themselves again. At dawn, I made an early start, climbing toward Knapsack Col. The air was thin, the world silent, except for the crunch of rocks beneath my shoes. From the top, I looked out over a cathedral of stone. Sharpened peaks and jagged ridge lines stretched across the horizon, their sides streaked with eternal snowfield. found myself wandering the streets of Pinedale at night, searching for a place to sleep. But rest never lasted long. I drew deeper into the winds, moving fast despite the steep climbs. The circle of the towers rose before me, a kingdom of granite, towering walls on every side. It was the most beautiful stretch of the trail so far. For a moment, I felt small yet infinite, surrounded by giants. The following day, the winds fell behind me and I pushed south toward the emptiness of the Red Desert and the long, barren miles of the Great Divide Basin. I stood before the long and lonesome road, a line drawn across the desert, vanishing into the horizon. In the basin, the trail tested the man in more than the legs, a place where a man could walk all day and still feel he hadn't moved at all. In the heart of this barren land, there were no rivers, no streams, only the mercy of water caches left behind by trail angels. On the horizon, the sky opened like a wound. Curtains of rain cut down from the clouds, slashing the desert floor, and there was nowhere to hide from it. Alone, I walked the edge of the highway as cars sped past. Some waved, others simply stared, mouth moving questions I could only imagine. Where is he coming from? Where is he going? Where is his home? I sensed this quiet satisfaction of a man who felt free and belonged nowhere and everywhere all at once. The feeling that only a vagabond, a wanderer, knew. After Rawlins, I pushed south, one last stretch of road, one last taste of the desert, before the line led me to Colorado, one of the hardest sections of the entire trail. Through hikes back to CDT don't just test you, they transform you. walked 20 to 30 miles a day, climbing the equivalent of Everest 40 times over. 5 months of dirt, hunger, exhaustion. Every day pushing the limits of body and mind. And at some point, it takes its toll. I'm not sure when the pain started. Maybe back in the Great Basin. Maybe earlier. It was all a blur. But now, it struck sharp, stabbing on my right foot. Every mile felt like a slow and grinding fight. Days bleeding one into the next. I limped my way through them like a wounded animal, slow, weak, but refusing to stop. And the hardest part? I had just entered Colorado and still had half the trail ahead. Half a country left to walk. In that tunnel of pain, I had yet to see the light at the end of it. When the body gave in, it filled the mind with nothing but pain. And I felt alone. Not the kind of solitude I came here searching for, but the heavy kind. The kind that settles in when pain outlasts strength. I had to wrestle my own thoughts, just to make a little room for beauty. Most days, the wonders of the trail blurred beneath the ache. But sometimes, just sometimes, a small moment broke through. A quiet reminder that the world was still here. Still beautiful. Even when everything else hurt. Step by step, I pushed deeper into Colorado. The pain never left me, but neither did my will. I crawled through the days, racing the early grip of winter, searching for meaning in all this suffering. Why I kept going through so much pain when nobody asked me to. Somewhere along the way, I began to find answers. I wanted to test my limits, to prove to myself that I could endure what few ever will. And I felt the weight of privilege. To walk here what so many could not. I would honor that every mile. The pain became part of me, and I swore I would keep moving all the way to Mexico. I always find it funny, when I go home after this, people ask me, how was it? I can never really answer that question. How do you explain all of this?
You have to look and listen to the mountain. You have to take a second and look at it.
Things we see, things we feel, things we hear. There's no words to explain that. Just gotta live it. I walked through the last stems of aspen, their leaves trembling in the wind like tiny flames, crackling together in a chorus of fire. A few days later, I stepped into New Mexico. A calm settled over me, a feeling of relief. The hardest part was behind me. I looked around at the rocks, the trees, the birds flashing between branches. These sounds, these smells, this world I had learned to live inside. In a month, it would just be memories. What came after, I didn't know, but it didn't matter yet. New Mexico revealed itself slowly. Desert, forest, open sky. Winter crept in slowly. The air got colder, the weather shifting without warning. Yet still, I admired the land. It was a glorious feeling to experience every day. The sunrises and sunsets, the beginnings and ends, to live under the rhythm of the sun, to feel completely immersed into nature and its ways, away from the constructs of mankind. The pain has softened, or maybe I just learned to forget it. For the first time in a long time, I could see the light at the end. It's hard to capture what it meant to push forward on an injured foot, step after step, mile after mile, the landscape vast and beautiful as I limped through it. Every stride, a reminder of my own fragility. But over time, the pain stopped being the enemy. It never got easier. I just chose to carry it, to let it shape me without breaking me. And somewhere in that struggle, I found strength. Now, near the end of this long walk, I can't help but look back. Not only in those 4 months, but on all the trails that brought me here. The trails of pain and joy, of failure and victory. The trails of my life. It's been a tough 4 months. This journey, fierce and relentless, tested me in ways I never imagined. And it taught me something. The reward isn't just in reaching the summit. It's in every grueling mile, every cold night, every moment of doubt overcome. Life's greatest rewards aren't earned by skipping the hard parts. They are found in facing them. When I first set out, I was searching for something, not why. I wondered what could drive me across a path so daunting, what reason kept me moving when my body begged me to stop. But I knew now. So when people ask me, why do you hike? I say this. Hiking is my moment of freedom. It's where I can truly be myself, unjudged, because nature doesn't judge. It's where I get to experience both unexpected encounters and profound solitude. Not the solitude that crushes, but the one that restores. When I hike, I feel closer to the earth, closer to the sky. Closer to myself.
Damn this wretched body, it's broken down and aching fears, and I can't seem for the life of me to hold back these tears. Now they're flowing like a river alongside the remnants of my soul. I'm strung out in the heartland alone. Strung out in the heartland, losing my mind. Strung out in the heartland, biding my time. No one remembers your name. Why would they? When you're strung out in the heartland alone.